Dorish Rav Nosson bar Yomi said to Rav Tanchum. Rav Chana says that Rav Nosson bar Yomi says the name of Rav Tanchum. Ner Shel Chanukah. Now on Chaf Beis Amid Aleph, 22a, top of the page, 22a1. Ner Shel Chanukah shenicha l'mayla mechaf amma. A ner of Chanukah that you placed it higher than 20 amot, pesula. If the Chanukah menorah is higher than 20 amot, it's possible. That means to say 20 amot is, let's say, anywhere. Thank you very much, Levi. So thank you very much, Levi. We have two coffees with David for you. Look at that, David. You got so Ner Chanukah. If you place the Ner Chanukah higher than 20 amot, it's psula. It is invalid. That means to say the following: from ground, meaning if you have, that means where people are standing, they have to be able. Good morning, Ronnie. Where people are standing,
good morning.
They have to be able to see the menorah. And the general vision of a person is the peripheral vision of a person. The way a person is able to see is they see in the normal walking, they see up to 30 to 40 feet. Higher than that, they don't see. Because of that, and one of the main things of the Ner Chanukah is to publicize the miracle. So therefore, you have to go ahead. The Chanukah menorah has to be lower than 30 to 40 feet. That's why even if you see the Chabad lighting ceremony menorahs, they don't have the menorah that's 100 feet tall. But how high is it? It's not more than 30 feet. Is it more than 30 feet?
They have, in fact, they have an elevator that brings them up. The guy that light up the.
But you can have an elevator up to 30 feet, most probably. But I don't. But a 30 feet, every store, let's say first floor, second floor. How many feet is it from the ground to the first? No, but I'm saying Amma is about close between 18 and 24 inches. It's 1/2 to 2 feet. So if you have right. So if you have 20 amos, you have 30 to 40 feet. So therefore you can have, it could be a few stories high. It could be the height of the Chabad menorah, but it can't be more than 40 feet. It's high because a few stores, you live on the second or third floor, you're still within 30 feet from the ground. But if you live on the 20th floor, 10th floor, you're more than 30 feet from the ground. But there, your ground is the ground that you're the ground of your ground on the 10th floor. If you're on the 10th floor, it's 2 from the street. Therefore, when you light on the 10th floor, you only will light at the window if the window is facing another window. But if that window is not facing another window, you won't light. Then you better you won't light there's no purpose of lighting at the window because people are not going to see. But if you're facing the street and you're higher than the 20 amot, then better put the menorah on your table in your house than to put it on the window, unless your window faces other buildings, right? And when we're in New York City, where there's a lot of other buildings that you could face. So Ner Chanukah shenicha l'mayla mechaf amma pesula. It is pasul, it is invalid, sukkah u'kamavui, like a sukkah and like a mavui. The same thing with a sukkah. The world's largest sukkah cannot be higher than 20 amot, because the same thing, you have to know and remember, according to one opinion's explanation, there's different opinions why it can't be higher than 20 amot, but one opinion is that you have to be able to feel and remember and know that you're in the sukkah, that you're remembering the miracles, the protection of the Hashem protected us, and when you're in the sukkah that's higher than 20 amos, you forget, you don't even remember that you're in the sukkah. So therefore, if it's higher than 20 amos, it is no, it's not a good sukkah. You have to have the schach of the sukkah have to be within 20, it can't be higher than 20 amot. So that's what the Gemara says regarding sukkah. Maybe I'll bring you a language of, let's see what it says. It says, okay, and then we have the idea of mavui, kemavui. What's the mavui? The mavui is an alleyway that opens up. Let's say you have your house, you have your houses. And then after you have your house, in front of your house, you have a courtyard. In front of the courtyard, you have what? Public property, runs into public property. And let's say you have in front of your courtyard, you have an alleyway, one Adam. Yeah, it's a new Zoom link if you want to send to the group. If you could send to the group.
Same one.
It's a no, it's a new link. I sent you. I sent it to you. And this alleyway is a concern. The alleyway is part of it has, let's say, walls on three sides, and it's private property, but it's open on the fourth side. And the concern is you might come to what? Carry from the alleyway into the what? Public property. So how do you know, what do you do to make sure that you recognize you won't make that mistake? Because it's open. I mean, because it's open on the fourth side, right? It's private property because it has three walls, three sides, it's closed. But it's open on the fourth side. So what do? One of the things is you put a korah, you put some sort of beam, something across to be able, and people will see that and they'll know that this here is private property and this is public property. So when you put that beam across, that you have to be able to see it in order to be able to what? To know that you're going from private to public or public to private. So therefore, if it's higher than 20 amot, if this string, so to speak, if this what you put across it's higher than 20 amot, then you will not be doing its job. So therefore, it's invalid this korah that you when it put up, and therefore you would not be able to carry from you would not be able to carry in that mavui. You would not be able to carry in that alleyway because of the concern that people might come to carry into public property. Like, one of the 39 malachot of Shabbat is not allowed to carry from private to public or public to private. And one of the conditions of a public, and one of the conditions, so if you have a place that's surrounded by three walls, it's not called a public property. But the rabbis were concerned that you might come, like we said, to carry from that place to public property. That's why you see a lot, in Brooklyn, you see a lot of in front of the houses. There's something they put up this. They have this Surat HaPesach. They put up these two side posts and they put a string going across. So that looks like it looks like now it creates like it's a private, it's a separate area. It's like you're entering into this is a doorway. And let's say you have the front of the house. You have this side of this, there's a wall here. There's the property walls have over here. And you have the house itself. So you have three walls. So this whole area, which is within you have three walls, is private property. But the fourth wall, that's going out to but this area, the fourth side is not, if it's not enclosed, so therefore you got to do something. So you put that string across and you put the two side posts. That's called a Surat HaPesach, and that's going to remind you to remember I can't go out to that from here into the public. So that is the point that the rabbis forbade you to carry in that mavui, in that alleyway, which was closed on three sides but open on one side, lest you might come to carry into public property. But when you go ahead and you put this thing across, then everybody will be able to recognize and remember, and that will serve the purpose. People won't come to make that mistake. Okay, so that's what this is. Hanukkah, Sukkah, and Mavoi all have that idea that you have to go ahead and remember and recognize that it has to be lower than 20 amot. V'omer Rav Kahana says, 22a1 on the top. Dorish Rav Nosson Bar Yomi. Jordan, anything you want to say, feel free to speak up. What? Yes, let's hear the question. We like questions, right, Adam? Absolutely. Yeah.
Goes towards like say that, but I have those good question if it's so you're saying it's like those, but it's really not. Rather those.
Right. So so what's the common denominator is not though is that they all, if they're higher than 20 amot, if they're too high outside the peripheral vision that a person has, it is invalid. So when it says Hanukkah is invalid like Sukkah and Mavoi in the sense of the bottom line. The bottom line that the Sukkah and Mavoi, if it's higher than 20 amot, if the Sukkah, if the Schach is higher than 20 amot, it's invalid. The Mavoi, when the Korah, when the thing that you put across is higher than 20 amot, it's invalid. So Hanukkah at that same law. So they're like what's united, what they have in common is they all, if they're higher than 20 amot, they're all higher than 20, they're all invalid. Each one can have its own reason. Meaning one, Rashi says, top Rashi, psula, because I think they all have, the first part of Rashi is the lo sholta ba'ela ma'ila mechav am. The eye cannot see. See that top Rashi? The eye doesn't see more than 20 amot. That's what they have all in common. You can't see higher than 20. And all these three things, you need to see the thing. But each one can have a different reason. Rashi says, Vileka persume nisa. By Hanukkah, the reason why it's no good, because there's no, meaning, if you want to have private property, right? You have private property and you have your ceiling is higher than 20 amot, it's still private property. You have a 40-foot ceiling, it's still private property. Because there's no problem, there's no deficiency by having it higher than 20 amot. But by these items, we specifically have reason why you need to see it. By Hanukkah, you need to see it. For what reason? To publicize the miracle. By Sukkah, you need to see it. You have to know you're in a Sukkah. You have to know, you feel the schach, you see the schach, you're cognizant that you're in the Sukkah. And by Mavur, you have to see it for what reason? Because you shouldn't come to carry from the Mavur, from that private area into what? Public area. And that serves as a what? As a help and a reminder. Good? Okay. We appreciate questions. $1 a question. Okay, no. Amar of Kahana. Darish Rav Natan ben Menyomi Mishmei Rav. Top of the page. Mishmei Rav Tanchon. My diksiv. V'habo reik ein bo mayim. It says the pit that they threw Yosef at Tzaddik into the pit was empty, ein bo mayim. There was no water, Mr. Haber, in the pit that they sent him. So the Gemara has an obvious question. So Simon knows the answer to the Gemara. The obvious question, it seems redundant. If you tell me, Adam, that the pit that they threw Joseph into was empty, so of course it has no water. But if it's empty, it means there's no water. If it has water, it won't be empty. So the Gemara says, what is the meaning that pit was empty, there's no water? If you tell me that the pit was what, empty, don't I know if you tell me it's empty that there's no what? Water. You sent to the group, Adam, by the way? Thank you. Why does it tell that there's no water? Mayim ain't bo, there's no water. Aval nechashim v'akrabim yesh bo. But there were snakes and scorpions in the pit. And that's what the Torah is telling us. There were snakes and scorpions in the pit. Perhaps I'm just speaking out loud. So why didn't the Torah write that fact? Why didn't the Torah write the fact that openly that there were snakes and scorpions in the pit? The Torah could say they threw him into the pit, but you should know that there were snakes and scorpions. Now, when they threw him into the, so we're going to answer that question in a minute. When they threw him into the pit, did they know there were snakes and scorpions in the pit? No. What's the proof? Because Reuven said, let's throw him into, don't kill him with your bare hands. Don't kill him. Throw him into the pit. And the pasuk says, what was the reason why Reuven said throw him into the pit? Latzilo el aviv. He had in mind that he's going to come back to the pit and what? Take him out of the pit and bring him back home when everybody would leave. So obviously he didn't think there was what? Snakes and scorpions in the pit. Now, perhaps the Torah has mercy on the honor of the tribes, and not to say openly the fact that there were snakes and scorpions in the pit. But that would look that looks very bad that they threw into a pit that had snakes, even though they didn't realize it was snakes and scorpions, but it still looks bad that that's where they threw into such a pit. So perhaps as honor, good morning, Asaf, honor to cover up for a little bit of the honor of the tribes, they didn't write that openly. But the question is, what is the purpose of Asaf? What was the idea that Hashem made it that the pit that they threw Yosef into had snakes and scorpions? What was the idea, perhaps, and what's the meaning behind it? So I'm going to think a little bit out loud to everybody today. One idea is perhaps it's part of the great mercy of Hashem. This is my own thought. You can tell me if you like it. Yosef is going to be going through an ordeal for a number of years. It's not going to be an easy ride for him. Hashem, right in the beginning, Hashem shows Yosef, I'm with you. You're going to be all right. You're going to make it. Because Yosef, the brothers didn't know there were snakes and scorpions in the pit. But who knew that there were snakes and scorpions in the pit? Yosef. He was thrown into the pit. He went right at him. He saw the snakes. And the snakes and scorpions didn't kill him. So Yosef saw the open miracle. And therefore, in a sense, that will serve Yosef, give him the confidence and realization that Hashem is showing him, I'm going to be with you. Because Hashem could take his life right now. And Hashem is not, and Hashem is showing him, I'm going to take care of you. That's number one. But I was thinking also, but on this flip side, why snakes and scorpions? So we know that the snake represents Lashon Hara. The snake was the one who spoke Lashon Hara on God, as the Chayyim, I think, writes, by Hilchos Erev Yom Kippurim. Because the snake said, what did the snake say to Adam and Chava? God ate from this tree of knowledge and he created the world. That's what he said. That's negativity on God, that God needs to eat from the tree of knowledge to create the world. And the snake represents Lashon Hara, negativity, speech. What was Yosef's sin? Yosef's sin seems to be, he spoke about his brothers. He spoke about his brothers, that his brothers did A, B, and C. You know, he said that they did this wrong. They ate from Avim and Achai, but it wasn't exactly, there was Yosef, according to Yosef's understanding, it's Avim and Achai, but according to them, it wasn't, a piece from a live animal. And they spoke a few things about Yosef, about his brothers, that weren't exactly, maybe in Yosef's opinion, it was a problem, but in their opinion, let's say they had justification for their opinion. I'll just give you a little example. What was the story of the Avim and Achai, piece of the live animal? When you slaughter an animal, right? What happens is a lot of times the animal moves around after the slaughtering. And if you rip a part of the animal off, after you slaughtered the animal, let's say you slaughtered the animal, you cut 51% of each side of the animal, of the windpipe and the esophagus, the con and the veshet. Once you cut the 51%, the animal is considered able to be eaten. It's kosher. But what about the animal still moving around? So Yosef held that that's called Eva Menachai. Yosef held that if at that point you would take a piece of the animal and rip it off a piece of the animal, cut a piece of the animal, Yosef said that's still considered live animal. That means you took a piece of a live animal. However, the brother said no, it's considered slaughtered. And once it's considered slaughtered, there's no problem to cut off a piece at that point. The Yosef reports to Dad, the brothers are eating non-kosher food, right? One of the 7 mitzvot that were given to the Bnei Noah, to the world, where you can't take a piece of a live animal and rip off a piece of a live animal. In Yosef's understanding, that's called a piece of a live animal. But in the brothers' understanding, once they had the slaughtering, even if the animal's moving, it's not called a piece of a live animal. So Yosef spoke bad about his brothers. Hashem shows him right away, why is he having this trouble? Why is he being thrown into the pit? Why is he being sold? Because of what? So on the one hand, he's going to be shown the snake, which represents the lust negativity. But on the other hand, Hashem is going to show his love to him by saying, but you're not but the snake is not going to hurt you. Because I know you meant well. Yosef meant well. He wanted his brothers to go on the right derech, on the right path. That's why he said something to his father. But he was mistaken in what he said. And therefore he was punished for that. Okay, so that's what the Gemara teaches us. Now, the question is, what is the connection? Is there a connection between this statement of Kahana and the previous statement? So Rashi somewhere writes that the Gemara is just grouping the statements of Rav Kahana together. The same rabbi spoke about if a Ner Chanukah is higher than 20 amot, it is what? It is invalid. So too, he's the same rabbi that spoke about Yosef and the pit. But you could also say, perhaps, he was the common denominator is something to do with not being able seeing something in its seeing further. The issue of Hanukkah, if it's higher than 20 amos, means because you're inability to see. And this other story with the brothers, with Yosef, is also connected with the inability of seeing. They did not see the snakes. Maybe we could also say the idea is, there is a connection of seeing the miracle, and there's also the idea that both you have to be able to see the miracle, and that story of a Hanukkah menorah, if it's higher than 20 amot, it's not kosher because you can't see. There's no publication of the miracle when you can't see it if it's too high. And this also story of the snakes is also the idea of seeing. We have to be able to see the miracle, and here we could see the miracle of the snakes. Okay, Amar Rabba says Ner Chanukah. The Ner Chanukah, good to see you, Asaf. Ner Chanukah mitzvah lanicha b'tefach hasmucha lepetach. When you put the Chanukah menorah outside, close to your entranceway, let's say if you're putting it outside, right outside your house, according to the opinion that you put it right outside your house, where should it be? Within a tefach. Means within about 3.5 inches of your doorway, it should be right there, right? It's right within 3.5. Not that you put it, a couple of feet outside your house, a foot outside your house, a half a foot outside your house. You should have it right, almost flush, pretty much, with your doorway, right? You have that, Adam, almost flush with your doorway. If you see the pictures in Israel of the menorahs that they have in the street, it's right by their door, right outside their door. Now, what's the reason for that? So Rashi says, if you look at the Rashi, mitzvah anicha b'chotzer, the mitzvah to put it in the courtyard. That's if Rashi or in the public property. Betefach hasamuch lepetach. You put it in the tefach, in that first, let's say 3.5 inches, that's close to the doorway. If you put it far away from the petach, it won't be recognizable that the owner of the house put it there. Because remember, the menorah, on the one hand, you're publicizing the miracle, but on the other hand, it needs to be connected to the house. And you have to be, people should see that everybody's lighting the menorah. And therefore, if you put it too far away from the house, so it doesn't look like it doesn't, maybe someone else has put the menorah there. Maybe the city put the menorah there. We want it to be recognizable that you put the menorah there, that it's coming from your house, it's connected to your house. Every Jewish home has the menorah. The question is, where do you put the menorah? Do you put it on the right side or on the left side? So Rav Acha b'rei the Rava Ama miyamin. You put it on the right side. That means facing the house. You put it on the right side. And however, Rav Shmuel Medifti Ama Mishmo, he says you put it on the left side, facing the house. You're standing in front of the house on the left side. V'hilchata mismo. You put it on the left side. Kedei she'ner Chanukah mismol u'mezuzah miyamin. Meaning technically, we want to have the Chanukah on the left and the mezuzah on the right. So therefore, we want you to be surrounded with mitzvot. A Jew, you walk into your house, you walk out of your house, you'll be surrounded with mitzvot. How are you surrounded by mitzvot? Because when you walk into the house, what's on your right side? The mezuzah. Right? Everyone has to remember the law. The mezuzah is always on the right side coming in. We have a drasha, it's on the right. Right? If you're always looking at, you're facing your house coming in, right side coming into the house. It's on the right, right? So that's how the mezuzah has to be. And therefore, if you have the mezuzah on the right, so where's the menorah when you're coming in? On the left. Morning, Charles. Now, what about if you have no mezuzah? The guy doesn't have mezuzah on the door for whatever reason. Let's say it's a situation where there's, let's say, the doorway is a type of doorway that whatever situation, there's no mezuzah there for whatever the story is. So there are those that would say, in that case, the menorah should be on your right. And others will say that still, even in that case, you would still keep the menorah on the left. But even though we say that the menorah should be on the left side coming in, and the mezuzah is on your right side coming in, but if you switched it, meaning if you switch the menorah, the mezuzah must always be on the right side coming in. But if you switch the menorah and you put the menorah also on the right, you still got the mitzvah of the menorah. It will not, sometimes when you do something not the right way, sometimes you still get credit, right? There's l'chatchila, there's b'diavad. And here we're saying after the fact, if you put it on the wrong side, if you put the mezuzah on the wrong side, you don't get credit. But if you put the menorah on the wrong side, you do get credit. So in Shulchan Aruch it says, regarding this halacha, it says the following. It says, Tafresh Ayin Aleph. So it says, the mitzvah to put it on the tefach close to the entranceway, like we said, on the left side. And the Mishnah Berurah of Chaim says, but if you put the Chanukah menorah on the right side, you are Yotzei, you still get credit. Now, by the way, this idea that you should be surrounded with mitzvot is also a little bit about tzitzit. This week's parsha is Shalach. At the end of the parsha is the mitzvah of tzitzit. And tzitzit also has an idea that you're surrounded. Wherever you go, wherever you turn, on all sides, you have tzitzit in the front, you have tzitzit in the back. Also, there's an idea that a person should have, be surrounded with that mitzvah. Wherever he turns, he should be able to remember Rita Moto Uskatem Es Kol Mitzvot Hashem. Okay, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav Asi. By the way, a lot of times when it comes to mezuzah, people need to, know which is the right host coming in. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people make that mistake. The way you enter that room, which is you have to make sure to put the mezuzah on the right side. Recently, I was in someone's home. He moved into a home, and he wanted to show me the house. And I mentioned to him that I think the mezuzah should be. I think he put it on this room. It's really, I asked him, what's the main way you come into this room? You come in this way to this room because it opened up into different areas. Well, that way, and I told him that I think mezuzah should be on the different. They have it on the wrong side of the way I saw it, and I'm happy. I'm happy. Then he said, I told him bring one of the rabbis in town from the town. Let him. And he said yes, you should move the mezuzah. But it was not on the right. So you have to be careful. It's on the right side. Get it? Right side, both proper side and the right side coming in. Have a great day, everybody. All the best. So when you build your new house, Bezat Hashem, make sure a rabbi comes to the house to check to make sure the mezuzahs are properly placed on the proper side. All the best, everybody.
Rabbi, have a wonderful day.
Ronnie, okay, you too, Ronnie. Asaf, have a great day.